In 1957, at Camp Alpine Lake in Colorado, Hope makes a call from a payphone. She explains that she discovered the number carved into the ice inside her strange dreams. When she tries to ask who the person on the other end is, all she can hear is static. The noise quickly turns high-pitched, forcing her to hang up. Jump to 1982 in Denver. Finney is beating up a new kid who keeps begging for mercy, but Finney doesn't stop until his sister Gwen yells at him. When she asks him what happened, Finney claims the other kid started the fight. It's clear he has gained a tough reputation after defeating a serial killer known as the Grabber 4 years earlier. At that moment, they're approached by Ernie, the brother of one of the Grabber's victims. He invites Gwen to a concert, and she agrees. That night, Finney can't sleep. He steps outside to smoke, haunted by the traumatizing incident he survived and imagining the Grabber standing in the backyard. Gwen tries to check on him, but Finney refuses to talk about it. Back at Camp Alpine Lake, Felix arrives with the other children, hoping for fun. Instead, he ends up running through the forest when the Grabber begins chasing him. Felix trips, and the Grabber uses the chance to kill him by cutting his body open with a knife. His body is dumped into the lake, and with his final effort, Felix scratches the letter W into the ice. At that moment, Gwen wakes up. It was a dream. Hearing a phone ring, Gwen opens the front door and thinks she sees something strange across the street. Finney snaps her out of it, telling her she's been sleepwalking again. She tries to tell him she had a bad dream, but he sends her back to bed. The next day, Gwen researches supernatural events in the school library, only to be mocked by other girls who call her a witch. When Ernie arrives with the concert tickets, he tells her it's cool that she believes in spooky things and shows her the tarot cards his grandmother sells in her shop. He knows Gwen's dreams helped locate the Grabber's victims. Gwen feels uncomfortable with the subject, but Ernie assures her that he likes weird. After school, Finney goes to a store and hears a payphone ringing. He picks it up, says, "Sorry, I can't help you," and hangs up quickly, only to realize the phone is out of order. Meanwhile, at Camp Alpine Lake, Kel is enjoying activities and making friends. One night in the forest, the Grabber chases him, captures him easily, and chops his body apart with an axe. Some parts are burned, and the rest are thrown into the lake. Kel's ghost scratches the letter B into the ice next to the W. Gwen wakes again to a ringing phone, confirming it was another nightmare. But when she goes outside, she is shocked to find Kel's body in the yard. Distressed and confused, Gwen rides her bicycle to the Grabber's old house. She slips through a small window into the cellar, where she finds a black phone. When she answers it, she hears Hope's voice from the past, the same moment shown in the opening. Gwen realizes Hope had the same dreams she does, except those boys carved numbers instead of letters. She wants to know more, but static fills the line and the call cuts off. When Gwen turns around, she is shocked to see the ghost of the Grabber's brother. He tells her she shouldn't be there just as the cellar door opens and the phone begins ringing again. Someone comes down the stairs, but it's only Finney, who came looking for her. Gwen tells him she talked to Hope, who turns out to be their mother when she was young. Finney insists everything was just a dream and spits on the ground before they leave. The next day, Gwen finds a pamphlet for Camp Alpine Lake and suggests they sign up as counselors so they can investigate the place themselves, but Finney refuses. Their father, Terrence, overhears the conversation and immediately recognizes the camp as the place their mother once worked. He adds that the camp closed in 1958 and emphasizes that he doesn't trust Christian camps anyway. Later, Gwen convinces Ernie to go with her, and because Finney dislikes Ernie and wants to protect his sister, he decides to come along too. After several hours of driving, they reach a snow-covered region and notice multiple accidents scattered along the roadside. Visibility gets so bad that the road ahead becomes impossible to see, prompting Finney to tell Ernie to stop the car. Finney runs ahead on foot to guide the vehicle through the snow while the car follows behind. Not long after, they encounter Mustang, who guides them safely to the camp using a flashlight. Once they arrive, Mustang introduces them to his uncle Armando, the camp manager. He explains that no kids will be coming the next day because the roads won't be cleared until the storm passes. On their way to the cabins, Finney notices a payphone. Gwen heads to the girls' room while Finney and Ernie go to the boys' dorm. Both dorms are completely empty because no campers have shown up. Gwen quickly falls asleep and has another nightmare from the past. Spike, a member of the camp band, is killed as well. Before he dies, he scratches the letter H into the ice beside the others, and his face splits in half. Gwen jolts awake and hears scraping noises from beneath the neighboring bed. Outside, Finney is smoking when he hears the payphone ringing. He walks toward it and the ringing stops, but when he walks away it starts again. This time he reaches the booth, answers with, "I can't help you," and hangs up immediately. But the phone rings again. When Finney tries to leave, the ringing intensifies. He answers once more, hearing only static before the grabber's voice whispers, "Hello, Finney." Horrified, Finney hangs up, but the booth door slams shut and refuses to open no matter how hard he kicks it. The phone rings again. Finney kicks the phone itself, knocking the handset to the floor. The grabber's voice returns, saying that hell isn't flames. It's ice, because nothing burns like the cold. Meanwhile, in the girl's room, Gwen checks under the bed and is horrified to see Felix staring back at her. She stumbles away, only for Cal to grab her arm, leaving a burning mark on her skin. Terrified, Gwen backs up as both boys close in, and sees Spike at the window trying to open it. Another figure appears behind him and smashes the window, causing the broken glass to slice Spike's face in half. Gwen screams just as the phone booth door finally bursts open. Finney runs straight to the girls' dorm and wakes Gwen. She breaks down, insisting she's losing her mind, and Finney does his best to calm her. After treating the burn on her arm, Gwen refuses to sleep alone and climbs into Ernie's bed. Still unable to sleep, she quietly prays, asking Jesus to protect her from the nightmares. Ernie overhears, and the two begin talking about religion, bonding over the fact that they both came from deeply devout families. Gwen explains that her mother also had strange dreams and eventually lost her sanity, and she fears the same fate awaits her. Ernie comforts her, and the two nearly kiss, until Finney abruptly interrupts and orders them both to sleep. In the morning, Finney gets angry with Gwen for telling Ernie everything that's been happening. Gwen insists they need help and shows him the burn mark on her arm, proof that these aren't just dreams. During breakfast, Armando scolds Gwen for sleeping in the boys' dorm and questions why the trio even came, since he doubts they're actually there to be counselors. The siblings show him a picture of Hope, and Armando immediately recognizes her as a former counselor. He remembers her fondly and becomes emotional when he learns she self-deleted 7 years ago. Armando instructs them to call their families using the office phone. When Finney mentions the pay phone outside, Armando tells him it hasn't worked in more than a decade. After Armando leaves, Finney reveals that the phone rang last night and that he heard the grabber. Suddenly, the pay phone starts ringing again. Finney rushes to answer it. Through static, a boy's voice says that it's cold and that they shouldn't be there. The three ghosts appear around the booth as the boy keeps begging for help. Finney can't see them, and the boys barely remember anything. They start pounding on the booth until Finney hangs up, causing them to vanish. Meanwhile, Terrence receives a call from Gwen confirming they are safe, but worried about the blizzard. He contacts a friend to borrow a snowplow. Gwen and Ernie meet staff members Kenneth and Barbara and ask if the camp has any books about its history. Kenneth politely explains they only have brochures. Barbara, however, is rude, judgmental about Gwen sleeping in the boys' dorm, and curses constantly. When they ask about the 3 boys who died years ago, Barbara snaps, "Good Christian people don't discuss such horrible matters." Gwen argues with her until Kenneth asks them to leave the office. That night, Gwen dreams of Hope answering the phone and speaking with the 3 dead boys, who beg for help. Felix's ghost stands near the forest. When Gwen tries to follow him, he disappears as red feathers fall from the sky. She notices Felix's jacket on the ground while Spike watches nearby. An axe slams into a tree stump, and blood seeps from it. A strange noise awakens Gwen, and she sees the dorm door being slammed shut. For an instant, she sees her mother staring at her. Gwen goes outside and finds Felix, so she follows him. At the same time, Finney wakes up to the sound of ringing. He wakes Ernie and tells him to protect Gwen while he answers the call. Gwen sees both boys, but continues following Felix. Finney hears the grabber's voice on the phone, even though the ghost isn't visible. The grabber says he's returned for revenge, determined to destroy everything Finney loves because Finney forced him to kill his own brother. Ernie reaches the girls' dorm and finds it empty, then races out to find help. Felix leads Gwen to the mess hall. She follows a strange light into the kitchen where ovens burst open with roaring flames. Falling objects alert the adults to her location. Suddenly, the grabber's ghost emerges from the shadows and attacks Gwen with an axe. She defends herself as best she can. He swings again, using his belt to trip her before attempting to choke her. The adults and Ernie burst into the kitchen and find Gwen struggling to breathe on the floor, but they cannot see the grabber. Her body suddenly flies across the room. Finney hears Barbara screaming and sprints to the cabin. Gwen is lifted and spun through the air before being hurled toward the ovens. Ernie grabs her legs just in time, but when the adults try to help, objects start flying off the shelves and attacking them. Mustang dodges the flying debris and helps Ernie pull Gwen back. At that moment, Finney arrives, and the grabber disappears into the shadows. After waking Gwen, everyone gathers in the chapel, where she tells them about the boys she saw in her dreams. Armando recognizes the descriptions, explaining that he never stopped searching for them. He shows them a photo from the camp's final year. Hope is among the counselors, and Finney recognizes the grabber among the staff. A shocked Armando explains that he was a maintenance worker nicknamed Wild Bill Hickok because he wore his belt like a gunslinger. Gwen realizes the initials match the letters she saw in her dreams and concludes this is where the grabber began killing. Armando says strange things started happening at the camp 4 years ago, and Finney notes that's when he killed the grabber, meaning his spirit was freed to return here. Gwen theorizes that the grabber draws strength from the fear of his victims because their spirits are unrest. They need to find the boys' bodies to set them free. The police never searched the lake because it was frozen during the murders, but Armando remembers Bill had ice fishing gear. He could have cut holes. They agree to search the lake in the morning. Later, Armando goes to his office to retrieve the boys' photo and hears a strange noise. He looks outside and sees a snowman, assuming Mustang made it. His radio suddenly fills with static, then the grabber's voice snarls. "You made me kill my brother." Armando replies that the grabber can't keep the boys forever. The lights go out. After grabbing a flashlight, Armando turns and sees the grabber's mask, made of blood and snow, pressed against the window. The voice says, "I want to hurt you." Armando insists they'll get the boys back, calling him Bill. But the grabber screams that this isn't his name and pounds on the window before disappearing in the morning. The group searches the entire lake but finds nothing. That evening, Finney and Ernie promise to take turns watching Gwen while she sleeps. Gwen dreams of a paperboy named Billy. While delivering newspapers, he's kidnapped in the grabber's black van, his first victim in town. Hope sees this memory in her own dreams and recognizes the grabber as Wild Bill from Camp in the real world. Gwen begins sleepwalking, but Ernie sends her back to bed. The dream continues as Gwen sees Hope leave her room. She follows her mother to the grabber's house, where Hope finds a child in the cellar. When she tries to leave to call the police, the young grabber captures her and drags her into his van. Ghost Grabber forces Gwen inside as well. During the ride, he tells Gwen he's bringing her here as a kindness, so she'll understand the truth before the end. The van stops at Gwen's home. She witnesses her mother's body hanging in the garage. She didn't take her own life. The grabber killed her and staged it. Gwen cries as Terrence finds his wife and collapses in grief. The grabber raises his axe. Gwen runs through the house and up the stairs, only to end up in the grabber's cellar. The black phone rings. She hears Felix urging her to hide. She runs into the bathroom and finds a hole in the wall leading to a door. Gwen pounds on it, but it won't open. The grabber slashes her arm with the axe, causing her to bleed in the real world as well. Ernie sees it and warns the others, but they can't wake her. Eventually, Gwen bursts through the door and finds Felix, who shuts it behind her. She races to the lake, hearing her friends calling her name. Armando is still searching the lake and finally discovers Felix's body, immediately beginning to break the ice. Suddenly, the payphone appears near Gwen and rings. The grabber says he must defend himself from anyone trying to take his power. He then appears behind Armando and smashes the ice. Gwen tries to reach him, but she's trapped in the booth. Armando falls into the freezing water. As he tries to climb out, the grabber stomps him back under. Gwen pounds the booth door in her dream, striking Finney in reality. The grabber shatters the booth glass and uses the phone cord to choke Gwen, throwing her around violently. Her real body mimics the movements, spinning in the air. Blood splatters everywhere as the boys struggle to hold her down. Mustang throws cold water on her face, but it doesn't work. Everyone urges Gwen to fight back. In the dream, she hears their voices through the phone. She focuses and the booth explodes, blasting the grabber backward. Gwen declares that in dreams, she has power too, and headbutts him before waking up. The group rushes to pull Armando from the lake just in time. He confirms he found Felix, and they plan to return for the other boys in the morning. Back at camp, they're shocked to see Terrence arrive in the snowplow. Finney prepares to leave, but Gwen refuses. She wants to finish this. An argument erupts. Gwen calls both of them out for ignoring their trauma instead of confronting it. She also reveals what truly happened to Hope, convincing them to stay. The next day, they spend hours searching for the remaining boys with no success. Suddenly, Gwen falls asleep and sees the grabber skating across the lake. She tries to flee and falls into a hole, causing her real body to get soaked. The grabber attacks Kenneth with the axe and drags him across the ice, mirrored in reality. Kenneth's body collides with Barbara, smashing her face on the ice. The grabber continues slashing both of them. Underwater, Gwen sees barrels. She kicks them open and finds the last two bodies. The grabber hacks at the ice to widen the hole, and the rescue cable falls in. He leaps across the ice and loops his belt around Finney's neck, choking him. Terrence plunges into the water to help Gwen lift the barrels while Finney fights the grabber off. Gwen begins praying, freeing the boys' souls. In the dream, their bodies rise from the ice and grab the grabber's ankle, tripping him. The three spirits block his escape. Gwen slams his head with the axe and tears off his mask. The grabber panics as Finney appears behind him and smashes his head repeatedly against the ice. Gwen chops off the grabber's leg to free him from the skeleton's grasp, and together they throw his body into the lake. The boys' spirits drag him beneath the ice, ending him forever. When Gwen wakes, she kisses Ernie. Later, back at camp, Armando calls the boys' families to tell them their bodies have been recovered at last. Gwen hears the payphone ringing. When she answers, she hears her mother's voice congratulating her for saving the children. Hope tells Gwen that her dreams are not a curse and reminds her she loves her children before hanging up. Gwen shares the message with Finney, and the siblings finally leave with their father. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.